On the 5th of October, 25-year-old Jordan Jacobs of Plano, Texas, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was found guilty of capital murder after fatally shooting a stranger in 2021 because he allegedly looked at his girlfriend. The authorities said that on the evening of the 7th of July 2021, 32-year-old Stephen Gambles was headed to the Shops of Legacy to meet a friend for dinner when Jordan, who's a complete stranger to Stephen, passed him outside of the mini-mart. Jordan told his girlfriend that Stephen had been looking at her, so he was going to rob him as a consequence. Jordan went back to his apartment, changed into a long-sleeve security jacket, dark pants, and a mask as a disguise and circled around the Shops of Legacy for about 2 hours, waiting for Stephen to return back to his car so he could rob him. CCTV footage captured Jordan entering Stephen's vehicle, located near a convenience store in the 5800 block of Legacy Circle. While he was waiting for him to return, he stole a firearm from the console. At around 11:30 p.m, when Stephen returned to his car after dinner, Jordan quickly confronted him. He pointed a gun at Stephen's head, and when he didn't cooperate, he shot him in the temple. Jordan fled the scene, and Stephen was rushed to a local hospital where he died the next day. Video footage captured Jordan leaving the parking lot in his security guard outfit, heading back to his nearby apartment. The authorities identified Jordan as a shooter. Jordan was not associated with the Shops of Legacy security, nor was he currently employed as a security guard with any company. On the 10th of July 2021, Jordan was arrested and charged with Stephen's murder. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis said, "An innocent man was out enjoying dinner with a friend when his life was taken by a violent stranger." He called the incident a senseless and terrible crime. 18-year-old Marcus McCowan is behind bars after he allegedly forced his way into a nursery at a hospital and began choking newborns and assaulting staff. The incident occurred at around 6:30 p.m. on the 3rd of October, when the authorities were called to the Odessa Regional Medical Hospital, located at 520 East 6th Street in Odessa, Texas, on reports of a disturbance. Medical staff told police that Marcus had forced his way into the nursery and began attacking patients, 2 infants, and a group of medical staff trying to help the babies. When officers arrived at the scene, they made contact with Marcus, who acted aggressively towards them. After a brief struggle, they placed him in handcuffs. During the arrest, police found a THC vape pen on him. Investigators said as Marcus was being escorted away, he twice attempted to take the officer's gun away from his holster, but was unsuccessful. Once Marcus was removed from the labour and delivery unit, investigators met with several nurses and a respiratory therapist who explained what happened. Marcus was visiting the hospital because his girlfriend was in labour. Marcus approached a nurse at the nurse's station and grabbed her arm and made an unintelligible statement. He was asked to leave the area, and nurses said that he began running back and forth in the hall. The nurses called Marcus's actions odd and unreasonable. He then reportedly stared down a mother who was holding a newborn in a baby carrier while waiting to be discharged. He then began focusing on the baby, but briefly walked away when the mother moved her child from his line of sight. He then sprinted at 3 nurses, yelling and screaming while trying to enter the nursery, which was locked and inaccessible to the public, pushing one of the nurses to the ground in the process. After an unsuccessful attempt to gain entry into the nursery, Marcus grabbed the newborn in the carrier from its mother and took the baby into the lactation room. A nurse reportedly saw him put his hands around the baby's neck, and the infant's face changed colour due to the lack of oxygen before they were able to wrestle the baby away from him. At that point, a respiratory therapist heard yelling. She came to investigate and saw Marcus force his way into the nursery, this time successfully. The therapist ran to the nursery and saw Marcus grab a newborn and started strangling her with both of his hands. According to the witness, Marcus then picked up the baby, who had since turned blue, by her neck and began to shake her. The therapist said Marcus said "die" to the infant and made a move as if he was going to throw her to the ground. The woman caught up to Marcus at that point and tried to slowly pull him to the ground in order to keep the child from falling and protect the child's head at the same time. The therapist stayed with Marcus and the newborn until help arrived. Marcus has been charged with 2 counts of attempted capital murder, assault of a public servant, resisting arrest, attempting to take a weapon from an officer, criminal trespass, and possession of a controlled substance. He's held at the Ector County Jail, and his bond is being set at $228,000. 53-year-old Glenda Marie AG is behind bars and is charged with fatally shooting her 13-year-old son Jamil Autry. At around 11 p.m. on the 3rd of October, officers were called to the middle unit of a triplex home located at 23,198 Jones Lane in Mobile, Alabama, where they found Jamil suffering from a gunshot wound to the right side of his chest. He was transported to a nearby hospital, where he died a short time later. On the afternoon of the 4th of October, Glenda was escorted to a police car in a wheelchair. Though she was not reportedly in one when the shooting occurred, the police allowed her to use one because she's frail. As she was led to the patrol vehicle, she was crying and yelling as reporters asked her questions. She said "God no," as she swatted away at reporters trying to talk to her. "I love my baby," she said, fighting back tears. "Get away from me. Get away from me," she repeated. District Attorney Lauren Walsh said the shooting occurred while the child was in bed in the home and that it appears he was asleep at the time. Lauren said that Glenda faces 1 count of reckless murder. She explained that it carries the same penalty as intentional murder, but the distinction is that she does not require prosecutors to prove that the defendant was trying to kill the boy. So the standard is extreme indifference to human life, she said, and this is an ongoing investigation, so I don't want to say too much about it at this time, but we've uncovered some information about this defendant's pattern and practice of how she uses firearms, and given that information, we find this to be reckless murder. Citing a previous pending criminal case, a judge denied Glenda bail on the 6th of October. She's been held at the Mobile County Metro Jail. Glenda's been arrested dozens of times dating back to the 1990s, charged with offences ranging from reckless endangerment to public intoxication, to domestic violence to driving under the influence of alcohol. Mobile police have said they've responded to her address 34 times in the past 2 years for various reasons, such as hang-ups, assault complaints, and medical emergencies. Glenda was on bond at the time of the shooting from an incident that occurred on the 2nd of January. Prosecutors allege that she led Pritchard police on a chase that resulted in injuries to one of the officers that prompted her second-degree assault charge, along with reckless endangerment. His sister Tiffany Epps says she believes the shooting was an accident. She said that Glenda loved him. She really did, she said. Lauren said that police still have a lot of work to do, including piecing together the precise sequence of events leading up to the shooting and trying to answer the biggest puzzle of all: how could a mother shoot her own son? "We're still investigating all of that at this time," she said.